yet the stories are already clearly exaggerated. The modern fiction writer Kaionji Choguro, while retelling the second anecdote in an essay entitled Haihosha, Martial Arts Experts, makes an interesting case about swordsmen as killers. A swordsman during the Tokugawa period, 1603 to 1868, he says, had only 4 compelling reasons to be engaged in killing. When ordered by his lord, the shogun in particular, to kill a criminal or someone marked as a danger. For revenge, in a quarrel, and when he ran into a robber or bandit with murderous intent. Of these situations, quarrels may not be worth our contemplation, Kaionji says. A good swordsman would have studiously avoided any argument that might lead to sword brandishing. Most robbers and bandits were likely to be poor swordsmen, so that if a real swordsman ran into 1 or 2 of them, he would probably have subdued them without killing them. As for acts of vengeance, few great swordsmen are known to have been involved in them. Finally, government orders to kill someone were issued to swordsmen only in the early part of the Tokugawa period. This explains why most of the famous swordsmen are known not to have killed a single person, Kaionji concludes. The bow before the sword. I started this introduction with anecdotes of a swordsman, but the swordsman is not synonymous with the samurai. The sword was a vital weapon for him from the very beginning, of course, yet until the 14th and 15th centuries, when foot soldiers began to eclipse horsemen in battles, and swordsmanship began to be pursued as a skill, the bow and arrow were the samurai's primary weapon. In a telling episode in Heike Monogatari, the tale of the Heike, Japan's greatest military narrative that took its final shape in the 14th century, Commander-in-Chief Minamoto no Kuro Yoshitsune, 1159–89, during the shore battle at Yashima in early 1185, drops his bow in the water and struggles to retrieve it, even as the enemy soldiers on the boats try to strike him off his horse, and his own men urge him to abandon it. When he finally retrieves it and returns to the beach, some veteran warriors openly complain. "That was a terrible thing to do, sir. Your bow may be worth 1,000, even 10,000s of gold, but how could it be worth risking your life?" "It isn't that I didn't want to lose the bow itself," Yoshitsune replied. "If my bow were like my Uncle Tamatomo's and required 2 or 3 men for the stringing, I even might have deliberately dropped it for the enemy to take. But mine is weak and feeble. If the enemy had taken it, he would have jeered at me, saying, 'See, this is Minamoto General Kuro Yoshitsune's bow.' I wouldn't have liked that. That's why I risked my life to get it back." In Hogen Monogatari, the tale of the Hogen era, an account of a military clash in 1156, Yoshitsune's uncle Tamatomo, 1139–70, is depicted as a bowman so powerful that after his capture his arms were dislocated at the shoulders with a chisel, lest he use his bow again. Indeed, bowman, yumitori, continued to be used as an honorary title for a distinguished warrior long after the sword superseded the bow. The warlord Imagawa Yoshimoto, 1115–60, who was called the #1 bowman of the Eastern Sea, is one such example. The samurai and his origins. The word samurai derives from the verb saburao, to wait on, serve, and in an early legal usage it meant a personal attendant. It isn't clear exactly when its meaning narrowed to designate mainly an armed attendant, then a certain type of warrior. Still, by emphasizing the original meaning of attendant or servant, one can note the singular fate of the samurai as warrior. Even after he became the de facto ruler of Japan in the 12th century, de jure, he remained subordinate to the supreme civilian, the emperor. The highest position he could aspire to, Seitai Shogun, commander-in-chief to subjugate the barbarians, or shogun, was indeed technically no more than the emperor's military deputy, and an emergency position at that. As in most countries, warriors had existed in Japan since time immemorial, but the type of warrior that would go on to found a government separate from the imperial court is thought to have come into being after the efforts to establish a centralized governing body were made in the 7th and 8th centuries, and the governmental system of Tang China was adopted. One of the 8 ministries set up in the process was Hyobusho, the Ministry of Military Affairs. Copying the Chinese example, a great many local military